Baseball was my entire childhood. From the time I was 5, my summers were measured in innings instead of days. The world revolved around the crack of a bat, the leather of the ball hitting a glove, the smell of fresh-cut grass, and sunscreen. If there was a baseball field, I was there. My life was in diamonds, in outfields, in the echo of coaches shouting through whistles. My grandfather always joked that if they measured a child's growth in games played instead of years, I would have been the tallest kid in the city. By the time I was 13, I had moved up to what our city called Senior League. The field was bigger, older, and set apart from everything else. Unlike the little parks that were tucked into neighborhoods, this one sat at the edge of the city, bordering a thick stretch of woods. Beyond those trees lay a stagnant pond, half swallowed by reeds and moss. Up on the hill behind it stood a massive hospital, white and sterile, with its tall windows reflecting the afternoon sun. Every so often, a med-flight helicopter would roar in and land on a helipad. We thought that was the coolest thing, like something right out of a movie. But even then, there was a quiet eeriness about the field. It was isolated, almost sacred, the kind of place that felt like it belonged to no one. After practices, my teammates and I had a ritual. We would jump over the outfield fence and disappear into the woods for hours. We told ourselves we were exploring, but really, we liked being somewhere we probably shouldn't have been. Sometimes we'd stumble across discarded things, like old soda cans, cracked toys, rusted bicycle parts, things like that. Occasionally, we'd catch a glimpse of a homeless person watching us from the shadows, silent and still, a ghost we tried not to see. But at 13, carrying metal baseball bats, we felt invincible, immortal. The world's dangers were imaginary to us. These woods were just a playground. The area around the field was sparse. One road in, one road out. A few houses scattered nearby. My friend Brandon lived in one of them, and he was also on the team. Beyond that, there was a McDonald's, a 7-Eleven, a Domino's, and a small bank. That was it. It felt like the edge of the world, and maybe to us it was. One afternoon in August, the heat was brutal, the kind that made your skin feel sticky and your uniform cling uncomfortably to your body. We were practicing for an upcoming travel tournament. Our coach, a man who exuded calm authority, was pitching batting practice while the rest of the team played the field. Sweat ran down our necks, stung our eyes, and the leather of the balls felt slick in our gloves. The sun beat down mercilessly, a furnace that made even the dugout unbearable. Then we heard it. A distant wail at first, easy to ignore. Sirens. At first, we carried on, thinking nothing of it, but the sound grew louder, insistent, impossible to ignore. My stomach tightened. My chest felt heavy. My eyes darted toward the road behind home plate, the long straight stretch that led directly to us. And that's when we saw them. 2 men. They were walking fast, unrelenting, straight towards the field, both dressed entirely in dark, heavy coats that looked more suited for winter than August. Black knit hats pulled low over their faces. Each carried a large backpack, bouncing against their shoulders as they moved. It made no sense. No sense at all. The chatter on the field started to die. Gloves began to drop. The batter froze mid-swing. The pitcher's hand stopped mid-throw. The field went quiet in a way that was almost unnerving, the kind of silence that hums in your ears. Even the birds seemed to have vanished. Our coach noticed this too. He was a man built to command attention, a former captain on the city's police department, an ex-boxer, a high school football coach. Calm but terrifying at the same time. Without hesitation, he motioned for the batter to step up to the box and walked halfway down the mound to meet the approaching strangers. "What's up, guys?" he called out, voice calm but edgy with authority. Everything all set? By now, the sirens were closer, louder, more numerous than we had ever heard. Not one or two, more of a wave of urgent noise that made the ground feel like it vibrated underneath our cleats. My throat went dry. My hands shook. I wanted to run, but I didn't know where to go. One of the men raised his hand casually, like this was some sort of normal interruption. "We're good," he said. "Sorry to interrupt your practice." They didn't stop. They walked past the field, reached the tree line, hurled their backpacks over the fence, and ran after them. In seconds, they disappeared into the dark, dense woods. And then the sirens hit their peak, exploding around us. Our coach didn't hesitate. He sprinted to his car and grabbed his phone. We gathered behind home plate, wide-eyed, our breath short, watching closely as he called the local police department. "We're at Campbell Field," he said, voice steady despite the urgency. "We hear a lot of sirens. 2 men dressed for winter with backpacks just ran into the woods next to us. Is everything okay?" The shift in his face was immediate, sharp, measured, alert. "Okay, this just happened? All right, thank you." He hung up, opened his trunk and pulled out a small, locked box. "Everyone off the field," he said, voice low and commanding. "Leave your equipment in the dugout. Go to the playground. Now." We moved quickly, almost automatically, though someone asked what was happening. He didn't answer. I walked with his son Justin, who was also on the team, towards the playground. "What's in the box?" I whispered. He didn't look at me. "That's my dad's gun," he said quietly. Within moments, police cars flooded the area. Sirens tore through our ears. Officers poured out of vehicles, blocking the road. Canine units arrived. A helicopter hovered low over the field. Then came NEMLEC, the Massachusetts Regional SWAT team. We were 13, standing on a playground, surrounded by armed law enforcement, not knowing what had just happened. Officers escorted us to our parents' cars one by one. A few of us were allowed to go over to Brandon's house nearby. From behind his fence, we watched chaos unfold. Hours passed. News helicopters joined the overhead, circling endlessly. It was then we learned the truth. The bank, just a few streets over, had been robbed. A teller had been shot. The men who had walked past our baseball field were the suspects. Those backpacks weren't filled with clothes or anything else. They were only filled with money. Night fell as detectives combed the woods. One emerged carrying a familiar backpack, the same one we had seen bouncing on a man's shoulder as he ran into the trees earlier. Justin's dad spoke quietly to an officer nearby. "They found one bag," he said, "but there's another one missing, and they haven't recovered the gun." I think in that moment we felt like the characters in the Goonies, imagining ourselves searching the woods one day, finding that second backpack filled with cash, becoming rich beyond our wildest dreams. But the next day, the backpack had been recovered from the muddy swamp near the pond. The gun was found in the water. The bank teller survived, and the 2 men were eventually convicted of attempted murder and armed robbery. None of us ever returned to those woods. Practices eventually resumed, games were played, seasons ended the way seasons always do, but something had shifted. Even now, years later, when I drive by that field, I think back to how close it really was to something disastrous happening, how fast things could have turned, how 2 desperate men running from a shooting passed within yards of a group of kids holding aluminum baseball bats, and how thin the line was between a crazy story and something that would have ruined lives forever. When I drive by that field now, it looks smaller. I guess everything does when you're older. The road is shorter, the woods aren't as thick. The hospital does still loom in the background, watching over the whole thing like it always did. Most people pass by without a second thought. But I'll always remember those sounds of sirens growing louder. I'll always remember the way the air felt heavy and wrong. I'll remember the moment baseball stopped being just a game and became the place where I learned that danger doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it walks in, dressed for the wrong season, carrying a bag you don't know the contents of. At 13, you think you're invincible. The truth is, you're just lucky. And sometimes luck is the only thing that stands between a normal summer afternoon and a story that ends very differently. Thank you.